Peter had a tough start to his life. He was born in Moscow and grew up in what they called the German quarter. His mother Natalia raised him there because his father, Tsar Alexei, had other sons too. It was not easy for Peter, as people did not think he would become Tsar one day, since he had older brothers. But Peter didn't let that stop him. He had big dreams for himself and his country.
Yes, even as a young boy, Peter showed he wanted the throne. He played games with his friends, where he would pretend to be a leader in mock battles. He always declared himself the winner. This passion for power was clear. His father died when Peter was just 10, and that opened an unexpected door for him. Now there was room for Peter among the rulers.
After his father's death, the throne was not just given to Peter. His brother Fyodor took the throne first, but Fyodor's rule did not last long. Sadly, Fyodor died without any children, which was a big moment for Peter. It was finally his chance to step up. However, before he could, there was a big disagreement in Moscow. People argued about who should rule next.
Exactly, and that is when a compromise was reached. Peter, still very young, was appointed to rule along with his half-brother Ivan V. But Ivan was not in good health. Peter did not like him much, but Ivan wasn't really a problem since he stayed away from ruling matters. Peter was closer to his goal, but still had a lot to face to become the sole leader.
After the death of their father, Peter and his half-brother Ivan V were both declared czars. However, Ivan was not healthy, and this affected his ability to rule. As a result, their sister, Princess Sophia, stepped in as the regent. Sophia, taking charge, faced many challenges. She was a strong and intelligent ruler, but her relationship with Peter was complicated. Their differing visions for Russia's future made it difficult to work together peacefully.
Indeed, Sophia overlooked Peter's potential and focused on her own reign. But Peter was not someone who easily backed down. As he grew older, he became more determined to rule alone. By the time he turned 17, Peter decided to act. He organized a palace coup, a risky move to remove Sophia from power. It was a significant turning point in his life. The coup was successful, and Peter took control, putting an end to Sophia's regency.
With his sister no longer in the way, Peter now looked towards his half-brother Ivan. Although Ivan was still a co-tsar, he showed little interest in ruling. His health was poor, and he preferred to stay in the shadows, away from the demands of leadership. This situation worked to Peter's advantage, as he faced fewer obstacles to achieving his goal of sole rule over Russia. Peter was patient, waiting for the right moment to gain full control.
Yes, that moment finally arrived when Ivan passed away. It was a pivotal event for Peter, marking the end of any shared rule. With Ivan gone, Peter became the undisputed leader of Russia. This newfound power was both an opportunity and a challenge for him. He had many plans for the country and believed he could bring about major change. It was his dream to transform and modernize Russia, and now he had the authority to start shaping the future.
After gaining full control, Peter saw that Russia needed big changes. He realized that the country was behind Europe in many ways. To fix this, he looked to Europe for ideas. For instance, he introduced a beard tax. Can you believe it? People had to pay a tax if they wanted to keep their beards. He thought this would help Russians look more like Europeans. This was just one of many unusual reforms he launched to transform Russia.
Yes, Peter believed these changes were necessary. He also changed the way people dressed. Officials had to wear jackets and trousers like people in Europe did. Plus, he replaced the old Russian calendar with the Protestant one. This was a big change for everyone, but Peter believed it was important to align with Europe. His aim was to modernize every part of Russian society, even if that meant making people adjust to completely new ways of living.
Peter also made big improvements in education. He thought that if people learned more, they could help make Russia stronger. So, he opened schools across the country. This helped many people learn to read and write. By promoting literacy, Peter believed he was giving his people the tools to succeed. He wanted everyone to have the chance to become well-educated and to understand new ideas from Europe.
Absolutely, he was very focused on education, but he also knew that the military needed reforming. Peter abolished the old Streltsy unit and created new modern forces. He believed that a strong military was key to protecting and advancing Russia's interests. By making these changes, he hoped to create a more powerful and efficient army that could stand up to any threat. And of course, this was all part of his larger plan to build a Russia that could compete with the great powers of Europe.
Let's continue with Peter's vision for urban development. He saw St. Petersburg not just as a city, but as a symbol of a new Russia. When he founded it, he wanted it to look like the European cities he admired. To do this, he hired Italian architect Domenico Trezzini. Trezzini had the task to transform the swampy area into a beautiful European-style city. It was a tough job, but they took on the challenge with great ambition.
Peter wanted St. Petersburg to be a place where Russian culture met European style. The planning and development needed a lot of skill and knowledge. Trezzini, with Peter's guidance, drained the swamps and began to build fine streets and buildings. The goal was to make St. Petersburg a capital that could rival Europe's finest cities. It was not just about beauty. It represented Peter's ambitions and his desire to show Russia's growth to the world.
But Peter's plans didn't stop with buildings. He wanted St. Petersburg to be a hub for many industries. To lessen reliance on foreign products, Peter started various industrial projects. These included textile factories and arms manufacturing for the newly organized Russian army. He believed that through industrialization, Russia could stand independently and become stronger. This was all part of his vision for a self-sufficient and powerful nation.
Right, and Peter knew education was key for these industrial plans to succeed. He established universities, like St. Petersburg State University and the Russian Academy of Sciences. These institutions were meant to foster learning and innovation. Peter wanted to ensure that future generations would continue to build and improve on his work. By promoting education and industry, he aimed to secure Russia's position as a major power on the world stage.
Now, Peter's story takes us to his foreign wars and diplomatic strategies. One of his major ambitions was to give Russia access to warm seas. Peter wanted Russia to have ports that were not hindered by ice. This led to his interest in capturing Azov, a key fortress that would help him access the Black Sea. He first tried in 1695, but faced failure. However, he didn't give up and returned the year after with a more prepared army and succeeded in capturing it.
Yes, capturing Azov was just the beginning. Peter wanted the entire Black Sea coast to be part of Russia. For this, he had to face the strong Ottoman Empire. It was no small task, as the Ottomans had been the main power in the region for years. Amidst these challenges, another threat emerged from the Swedish Empire. Sweden was strong in the Baltic region, and Peter needed alliances to counter their power. He formed a coalition with nearby kingdoms to stand against Sweden.
The turning point came with the Great Northern War. The young Swedish king, Charles XII, surprised Peter by winning crucial battles, like the Battle of Narva in 1700. This loss was tough on Peter, but he learned from his mistakes and strengthened his army. Years later, Peter achieved a significant victory in the Battle of Poltava in 1709. This battle was pivotal. It not only marked a turning point in the war, but also showcased Peter's determination and military strategy.
Exactly. The Battle of Poltava was a huge win for Peter. Despite earlier losses, he never lost his ambition. His victory against Charles the Fenian was important to establish Russia as a strong European power. This success helped Peter expand his influence, but it also meant that other countries had to be cautious of Russia's growing power. Through these wars, Peter showed he was not just a reformer, but also an astute military strategist who was ready to take risks for his country's future.
After the Battle of Poltava, a new challenge arose with Charles XII of Sweden. When he took refuge in the Ottoman Empire, it created tension. Peter saw this as a threat. He wanted Charles out of the Ottoman lands, fearing he might regain strength. Peter sent messages to the Ottomans, asking them to expel or hand over Charles. But Sultan Ahmed I refused to comply, leading to increased tensions between the two empires.
Peter decided to take action. The Russian army moved southward, getting ready for a possible conflict. They reached the area around the Prut River, but here they faced a big problem. The Ottoman army, led by Grand Vizier Baltaku Mehmet Pasha, had surrounded them. Peter found himself and his forces in a difficult situation, unable to escape. It was a moment filled with anxiety and uncertainty, as the Ottomans had the upper hand and could strike at any moment.
With no other choice, Peter had to consider surrendering. The idea of giving up was a tough pill to swallow, but he knew he couldn't let his army be destroyed. He sent a note to his leaders back home, saying that if he was captured, they should no longer see him as ruler. It was a moment of despair. Just when the situation seemed hopeless, the Ottomans surprised everyone by agreeing to negotiate peace with Peter. It was an unexpected turn of events.
The resulting peace treaty was a relief. It allowed Peter and his army to go home safely. However, the treaty came with some big sacrifices. Peter had to give up certain territories, losing key access to the Black Sea. This impacted Russia's ambitions in the area. Returning to Russia, Peter was deeply affected by this setback. The defeat and loss troubled him, leading to a period of depression. Yet, it also shaped his future strategies, teaching him valuable lessons about diplomacy and resilience. Peter the Great indeed was a visionary leader. His legacy as someone who reshaped Russia into a world power lives on. It's important to look back and see what lessons we can learn from history. If you enjoyed learning about Peter the Great and want to keep exploring history with us, don't forget to like and subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us bring more historical stories to you.